This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very pleased to be speaking with Susie Essman about Curb Your Enthusiasm. How are you, Susie?
I'm good.
You already seem very nice, and I worry that most people who have seen you on TV think you're a horrible, mean person.
Yeah, you know what, Abe? It's called acting. No, I get to be nice because I get it all out on camera. It's a big release. And then in the real life, I get to be actually a nice person. But I do see people when they stop me on the street, sometimes their face falls and they're visibly upset that I'm not screaming and yelling at them.
Well, what is it like to play this kind of role for 24 years and just live with the character that long, especially one with the same name?
Well, the whole Curb world is so odd in that sense that, like, I'm Susie, but not Susie Essman. I'm Susie Green, but Richard Lewis is Richard Lewis, and Ted Danson is Ted Danson, and Larry David is Larry David. It's like it's a big, confusion about reality versus fantasy, but it's all fantasy in reality because that's not really Ted Danson. That's Ted Danson playing Ted Danson on Curb. Um, Wow, we've been doing the show for 24 years. However, there've been long gaps in between. We only do 10 episodes a season, and each season is probably there's probably a year and a half between seasons. So there's plenty of times I'm not Susie Green. I'm Susie Essman more than I'm Susie Green. It's been just incredible doing this show for this long. I never would have imagined that I would have been doing it for this long, that it would have lasted this long. It's been the most fun part of my professional career. It's been the most creative part of my professional career, and it's been the most fulfilling part of my professional career. And I've been doing this for more than half of my career.
It's very impressive. And so everything is just improv. There's no scripts, there's just ideas. Is that how things work?
Correct. But, not to mislead you, there's a very detailed outline. So there's no dialogue written in the outline. But, Larry's brain is all about story. It's just that's who he is. He's all about story. So we know what each scene, there'll be maybe a paragraph or two for what's happening in each scene. So we know exactly what's happening in the scene. There's just no dialogue written. We write all our own dialogue, which is why I've loved doing the show so much, because I don't know any other show that I would have had that kind of creative input, to be able to write my own lines, to be able to really create my own character. I mean, it wasn't a full-fledged character until I kind of made her who she was. And it's just been a joy. It really has. I just feel so lucky.
Do you have any favorite lines that Susie likes to say or just things about her?
Are you able to bleep?
We don't need to bleep. We'll just be fully unedited here. It's all good.
Uh, oh God, there's so many lines. I mean, I try to come up with new ways to curse all the time, because you don't want to just keep on saying, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I mean, that's good too. But um, I don't know, it happens in the moment. I kind of go into the zone when we're in a scene. Like I was watching this season, I was watching, what was it, episode 9, the Springsteen episode, where I have COVID. I'm having that fight with Larry on the stairwell. It's like, you're a virus, you're a virus. Now, none of that was in the outline. In the outline, it just said, Larry comes to the house and Susie accuses him of giving Bruce COVID. The rest of it was all just us playing, that whole you're a virus back and forth was just something we came up in the moment. And I think I called him a cold-hearted COVID carrying cocksucker. I don't even remember saying that line, but you're in the moment, you're in the scene, and it just comes out.
Funny. Is there
Probably my favorite though, Abe, if we're gonna, if I have to pick a favorite, would be in season 2 in the doll just saying, "Get me the fucking head." I mean, nothing was more fun than that.
That's fun. Is there anybody you feel like who is closest to their real life version of themselves, or everybody is really just so, fantasy exaggerated, etc.?
I would say the closest was Richard. The closest to his character was Richard Lewis. And even that was a heightened and different, but he was pretty much the closest to his character. I mean, it's interesting. Cheryl is nothing like her character. Cheryl's a nutty girl, and fun loving, and her character so pragmatic and serious. And Larry's an interesting case because Larry is really in real life nothing like his character, but I know he thinks all those things. It's like his id, and he kind of has said to me before that he aspires to be that character. But he's he's our leader. He's our showrunner. He's got hundreds of people working for him, and they wouldn't be as loyal to him as they are if he was that jerky Larry show. We call it show Larry, the show Larry character.
And is there anybody that any, guest stars over the years that have been particularly memorable scene partners for you?
Oh, gee, I mean, I wasn't in a scene with him, but my favorite person to meet as a guest star was probably Mel Brooks because he was a childhood idol of mine. And usually they say you shouldn't meet your idols because you're disappointed. I was not disappointed in him at all. He was absolutely lovely. And he was a huge comedic influence on me, from way back when I first heard when I was 5 years old, and I used to listen to the 2000-Year-Old Man album, and I would stand up on the kitchen table and do both parts and perform it, word for word. So that was a thrill for me. I loved working with Tracy Ullman. I loved the past couple of seasons working with her. We just had a great rapport, and I loved working with her. And so many of the great guest stars, Larry kind of saves them for himself. I loved working with John Hamm. I thought he was just a brilliant improviser. I love working with Vince Vaughn. He's an amazing improviser. But I think our favorite scenes for all of us are when it's the family, when it's us. And guest stars add so much, but when it's just us, like sitting around my house at a dinner party or something, and cousin Andy is there, Richard Kind, and his wife Lisa Arsh, who's so brilliant, and it's just family. I think those are our favorites. Cheryl and I particularly love when we gang up on Larry.
Well, it's nice to know that everybody gets along because the show is not meant to be an enjoyable, like we're like not a pleasant experience, I should say. It definitely is enjoyable. And so
It's
it's
not
it's
Little
nice to
House
know
on
that
the
people don't,
Prairie.
yeah, it's
But
just
Abe,
it's affirming.
one of the reasons why we could speak to each other in that despicable way is because we know we're just kidding. I'll have a scene with Larry where I'm like, "Get the fuck out of my house! You're a fucking asshole!" Blah, blah, blah. And then it'll be cut, and then I'll be like, "All right, so where do you want to go to dinner?" And then we'll go have dinner.
I enjoyed a lot of plot lines this season, particularly the billboard, maybe mainly just Susan's reaction to the billboard whole
Oh, the
thing there, which
billboard.
was
Yeah, the billboard was great. Oh, I love that. That was so much fun.
it's fun to have a lot of this stuff.
Abe, that billboard went up in real life. And in real life, somebody actually drew the penises graffiti on it. Yes, it was kind of
The the
fabulous.
the best fulfillment of the show that there's always someone somewhere who wants to say something, and we just hope it's not us, right?
And it was no small feat, by the way, for somebody to get up there and draw that because, it was way up high on Santa Monica Boulevard, and they had to get like scaffolding, and they were like had ropes around them and getting themselves up there, whoever drew the graffiti. So it was like a major feat to get up there and do it. It wasn't like spray painting the side of a building.
I know that this is the last season, but with everything, there's always a chance there's more. Do you feel like it's really done, or would you come back for more if there was an opportunity?
Well, those are two separate questions.
Yes, they
If
are.
I would absolutely come back for more. It's the greatest job I could have ever had. It's the most fun. Larry's, he's one of my best friends, and working with him is just, we love it. However, I do think it's the last season. If he surprises me, fantastic, but I do think it's the last season. And I can't really put my finger on why. It's just a feeling that I have. It feels like, I mean, we have been doing it for 24 years. We've done 12 seasons. We were all youngsters when we started, and now we're going into our old age, our dotage. But it feels, I don't know, it just feels like it didn't jump the shark. We had an amazing finale, an amazing last season. It just feels like it's just wrapped up in a little bow and done.
That's nice. How do you feel that this being on the show for so long has affected the rest of your career and everything else you've done?
Oh, it's made my career. I mean, it's, to be on a, I feel incredibly lucky because I'm on a show that I would actually watch. I could have got cast on some show. You know how there's these shows that you find out they've been on for like 8 seasons and you never heard of them. There's so many shows like that, and I could have been on some sitcom like that, and I would have been happy to have the job and have the get paid every week. But to be on a show that I actually think is brilliant and iconic, and to have been a part of creating that show, I feel like one of the luckiest actresses in these United States.
What are some of the other moments of pride from your career that other people who have mainly seen you in this should know about?
Well, I love doing Broad City. I love doing that show. That was like, just so much fun and so different from Curb, and getting to work with Abby and Alana and these two younger, they're like my comedy daughters, the two of them. And what impressed me so much about them is that they acted, they wrote, they directed, they produced, they edited. And when I was coming up, none of that was on the menu. I didn't know I was allowed to do all that. As it was, what I was doing, being a female stand-up comic in, the early 80s, was not on on the menu of what I was supposed to be doing as a nice Jewish girl. So I just felt like it was a part of an extension of what I had laid out, that they were able to take that and go all the way with it. And I just loved working with them and with Paul and Lucia, and it was just a thrilling time. And then I've spent 35 years doing stand-up, which I'm really proud of. And that was an adventure in and of itself.
You mentioned Jewishness, and I feel like this show has so Curb just has so many references that I feel like a lot of people may not get, and
Think
it
people
just
don't know
doesn't
what
matter.
blowing the shofar is?
But is that, is a lot of that part of the outline, or most of it is sort of just improv and added later?
Well, if there's a story like something like that was season 11, I believe, where he blew the shofar, then it's in the outline because it's a story point. Um, Other things, I mean, if my throwing Yiddish words in there, that's just me. Unless the only thing that's ever written in the outline is sometimes there's a line that you have to get out for story purpose, and it has to be very specific. So that's written, but everything else we just improvise. The fact that it's very Jewish is because of who created it, the storylines. I mean, Larry and Jeff Schaefer are both Jewish, so there you go.
I like it. Well, at Awards Buzz, we love awards, and I'm curious if there's anything that you've been watching recently, a show or performance that you feel is particularly awards worthy.
Hmm. Besides Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Besides Curb Your Enthusiasm, we know Curb is great.
what did I just finished watching The Jinx Part 2, which I thought was brilliant. I loved that. Um, I'm a big Hacks fan. It sounds like I'm just pushing the HBO Max stuff, but I'm not. God, lately I've been watching a lot of sports because it's playoff times with basketball and hockey. So I've been watching a lot of that. There's nothing that's coming to mind offhand.
Okay, what's next for you?
Well, I have a bunch of irons in the fire and nothing I'm allowed to talk about. But there is one project I'm very excited about, which I have a meeting right after this, and we'll see. You know how these things are. It takes forever to get anything made and get off the ground. And I'm itchy to work because we actually, the show just finished airing, but we wrapped in March 2023. So, and then we were on strike, and then, we came back from the strike, and things have been a little sluggish in the business, as I'm sure you know. So I'm just kind of itchy to get back out there and work again and create some new character that's nothing like Susie Green, but hopefully is as funny as her. Although I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be as funny as Susie Green because Larry just sets it up that way.
It is certainly a lot of fun. It was such a pleasure to speak with you, Susie, and I wish you good luck in that meeting.
Thank you, Abe. And I want to know, without turning around, can you recite that?
The Torah portion behind me?
Yes.
Probably not, but it's Tetzaveh behind me.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Thanks so much, Suzie. Such
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.